How's it going, folks? And welcome to day 28 of 1 year of producing every day. I am trying something a little bit different today. At the end of yesterday's video, I talked about how I was kind of getting burnt out by the editing process, and it was it's a very tedious thing to have to listen back and find all the moments where I actually talk through what I do and then intersperse that with showing it to you. And there's also a lot of footage, like lots of footage, oftentimes that gets completely cut out of these videos because it's either just not quite interesting enough in the way it originally happened, or it took way too long for me to resolve a problem or something. The other thing I hadn't talked about at all was that the process of me talking out loud while trying to be creative and work in kind of maintain a flow state was just not happening. It was I kept finding myself kind of reverting to streamer mode, where if I wasn't doing something entertaining, I started to have this little itch in the back of my skull that told me I'm doing a bad job and I need to start being more entertaining. And I just don't think that was actually conducive to a proper creative environment. So today I'm trying something new where I wrote down a list of all the things I did, and now I'm going to narrate back to you what those things were and kind of talk to you about my experiences. I'm recording this voiceover immediately after doing the video, so my thoughts will be the most fresh. But to get into today's project, I actually, after yesterday's video, did end up, I picked up my guitar and just kind of played by myself, and then the project was still open in front of me, and I was kind of frustrated that I hadn't made more progress, so I kind of said screw it and tried to make more progress, and actually did a few things that I thought were really effective. One thing, I should have done this in the video, and I was really glad I thought to do this afterwards, I just bounced the bass. Remember that problem we were having where the bass was constantly popping up an octave and I didn't understand what was going on, and even when I put it back down the octave, it would sound different? I just bounced it so it was an audio file, and I could completely avoid that problem moving forward. But then getting into today's action, the stabby synth that is the first bit of melodic information you hear after the drop is probably my favorite part of the track. It's the best sound of the track right now. And so instead of having that be a background instrument to the main melodic idea, I just re-recorded the melodic idea in the stabby synth. It sounded like this. I think that will probably work better than me trying to layer the first stabby synth idea with another one that's got the melody in it. So I'm happy to deal with that way. One thing that's also lost in my edits from the previous style of doing the videos was just how much I just sit and just listen to the track and just try to see what is my ear telling me is missing from the track, and then try to go and add that thing. It's a pretty regular part of my workflow that just is not conducive to quick snappy YouTube videos, but you can kind of see me doing that here. And the next thing that kind of jumped out to me was the beginning of this track is so empty right now. I kept trying to fill in more things of after the drop, and that is the most important part of the track, but the beginning really does need more going on than just two instruments. I thought about layering some new atmospheres, and I might do something like that, add something really in the higher register, but I ended up realizing I probably could do most effectively was just add a bunch more effects, add a bunch more of little whooshes and splashy sort of sounds. So, as always, whenever I need to add more non-tonal atmospheric sounds, I go back to delay. It's such a great effect to just pull the dry completely out, put the wet all the way up, make it just like sounds bouncing off of walls where it happened miles away, and you're just finally getting the echoes of it where you're at. And I pulled up one of Logic's default effects boards. It's actually crazy, too, looking at the way that these things are built. While it's a default effects patch, there's so much going on. The people who built the default Logic effects library, or just the sound library in general, really did a lot. You can learn so much about how Logic works just by trying to pick apart and reverse engineer some of these samples. You could tell that they've got specific channels of this summing stack mapped to specific MIDI notes. It's really cool. I'm always a little bit surprised by just how good these packs are. And this one just got so many kind of trailer cinematic sounds that when pumped through the delay really came out very atmospheric. I just recorded it through and it came out sounding like this. So now going back to this stabby synth sound, I love the way it sits in the mix, and I've tried to add more 8-bit elements, more chiptune elements to this psytrance drop, but none of them sound right. None of them are sitting quite correctly. And I had the idea, what if I could go in and change out the wavetables in this stabby synth sound and replace some of them with some chiptune sounds. I quickly found that that was not the case, and it was actually really interesting looking at the waves themselves and just seeing just how more complex the waves that were generating the stabby synth sound were than default chiptune waves that you could draw on a piece of paper. The depth and complexity of these wavetables is part of what gives this sound its nuanced layer, and it's also the sort of thing that was not really possible on Game Boys and gaming devices of the past. So I think that one's kind of a dead end. I don't think that I'm going to be able to convert this directly. I mean, you can hear a few examples of things I did try to do. None of those quite hit the spot the same way. It might be something we experiment again with in the future. But at that point, we were 20 minutes in, and it was time for me to get ready for RLCS the next day. So thanks for watching. Hope you guys will tune into the next one. See you tomorrow.